and perceive herself floating near the ceiling, looking down at her physical body in bed. Well, she thought it was just an ordinary part of dreaming. You know, you go to sleep, you have a dream, you float near the ceiling for a few seconds, you have another dream, you wake up and go to school.
Tart was intrigued. A number of people seem to have out-of-body experiences, but few do so regularly or at will. So he set up a controlled experiment in a sleep laboratory. Here, the young woman was attached to an EEG to record her brainwaves and to show when dream sleep began and ended.
Now, when you're wired up like this for a sleep experiment, it's not uncomfortable. There's nothing painful about this. In fact, in a few minutes you forget you have these electrodes on. But you can't get out of bed without creating a terrible mess, because if you just get out of bed, all these get pulled off your head, and in the recording machine in the next room, ink gets thrown all over the walls. So she was in bed for the night.
After she settled down, Dr. Tart chose a 5-digit number from a book of random tables. He alone knew this number, which he copied onto a piece of paper and then placed high on a shelf in her room, well out of reach. That number, 25132, has become famous.
I would tell this young woman, Mrs.Z as I called her to protect her anonymity, if you have an out-of-the-body experience during the night, try to float up to a position where you can both see the number, memorize it, then I'd spend the night monitoring the equipment and she would sleep.
Miss Z woke several times during the night, saying that she had been dreaming, and each time Tart was able to match her report to a pattern of busy brain activity. But some of the recordings made that night were very unusual.
There were definite physiological changes. In fact, she showed a unique brainwave pattern. There were significant differences in the brainwave pattern of a sort that I'd never seen before in the years of dream research. And in fact, I had one of the world's leading experts look over the same charts, and he agreed with me. This was odd. This was a unique pattern.
Not only was the pattern unique, but it corresponded directly with those dream periods in which Miss Z claimed to be having an out-of-body experience.
Most of the time when she had her out-of-the-body experiences, Miss Z said she wasn't in enough control to get in the right position to see the number, so she had no idea what it was. She wasn't making any guesses. On the one occasion when she said, I saw the number, it was 25132. It turns out she was correct. It was 25132. Now, the odds against guessing a 5-digit number on one try by chance alone are 100,000 to 1.
Charles Tart is adamant that Miss Z could not, at any time that night, have left her bed without his knowledge. He rejects the occurrence of fraud, but acknowledges that no one has been able to repeat the experiment since, because after her one night of fame, Miss Z disappeared. At the Maimonides Medical Center in New York, Dr. Stanley Krippner was already involved in a dream laboratory. But he decided to redirect his researches into what turned out to be the most ambitious study ever made of dream telepathy. This ran for 6 years, with results that remained truly impressive.
A subject would be hooked up to electrodes, would be monitored for rapid eye movements, just like in the dozens of other dream laboratories around the world. But the difference was that the subject would know that he or she was supposed to try to dream about a picture that an individual in a distant room, in some cases a distant building, was looking at during the night.
The pictures were chosen at random from a collection of envelopes by a throw of dice. Each envelope contained the print of a well-known work of art, usually a painting with a characteristic mood, or a storyline that was likely to evoke a particular emotion. And the sender's task was to concentrate on the image for as long as the sleeping subject was dreaming somewhere else in the laboratory. In the morning, the subjects were shown 8 images and asked to choose the one which most closely matched their dreams. One of the most successful dreamers was Robert Funder Castle, whose hit rate was over 70%. He worked particularly well with senders who sketched the image while trying to transmit it. On one occasion, picking up clearly on the image of a landscape by Cézanne, which shows nothing but country cottages framed by leafless trees.
It was like a doll house. Then there was another image of some small little houses off in the distance. And there were no people, no social interaction. And that's what it turned out to be. It was Cézanne's picture of, I think it was called Houses and Trees. But that's exactly what it is, little itty-bitty houses that could be like doll houses. Nobody, no interaction at all.
As the study went on, Krippner experimented with ways of making the sender's messages more rich and emotive. Instead of just looking at images, the psychologists serving as senders were asked to act them out. So a gentle Japanese scene of people walking in the rain was brought to life and made vivid by a reenactment involving a paper umbrella, the sender, and a convenient shower cubicle. And the results were fascinating.
On that particular night, the sleeping subject had several dreams about rain and people caught in the rain. And that's the only night that that particular subject had any dreams at all about rain.
The Maimonides project, involving hundreds of subjects and thousands of hours of observation with expensive equipment, was so costly it will never be repeated. It doesn't need to be, because researchers have found simpler ways of exploring the potential of altered states of consciousness. At the Rhine Research Center in North Carolina, parapsychologists are experimenting with a new technique. It involves nothing more complex than shielding subjects from distracting influences. It is known as the Ganzfeld, or uniform field, and is proving to be a very effective way of encouraging spontaneous experiences.
And then I'll place these goggles.
Dr. Cheryl Alexander uses it to help her subject relax in experiments designed to detect potential psychic ability. The receiver sits in a reclining chair in dim red light, her eyes covered, wearing headphones that play unpatterned, uniform white noise. The combined effect of this mild form of sensory deprivation allows her to tune out her immediate surroundings and to pay attention instead to fainter signals.
The theory behind it is that when subjects are in this altered state of consciousness, the external noises from the environment are reduced, so they have an internal awareness state, and that state will allow them to gain access to any type of psychic information that may be present.
At the opposite end of the building, a sender is set up. She's equipped with headphones, a sketch pad, and a television monitor. And her task is to try to reach out, establish a connection, and send specific information to a receiver she may or may not know. When both sender and receiver are ready and relaxed, the session begins. The sender selects an image at random, choosing from a pool of 106 photographs and film clips, each with some special quality. These are presented to her on the television monitor in various ways, as still or moving pictures, in black and white or color, at length or in short bursts.
They're the only ones who know what the target picture is, and their task is to concentrate on that information and to try to send it via mental thought, mental telepathy, to the receiver. And to help them do that, they have a pad of paper and they sketch parts of the picture and write about what it is that they're seeing, and they try to send that information to the receiver.
In the other room, the receiver tries to pick up information and talks about whatever enters her mind.
Landscape, more like landscape garden.
A one-way audio link allows the sender to hear this output, providing feedback that may help her to transmit more effectively.
Branch, and that was it. Like a long flowing dress. Like little children, just kind of jumping and bouncing around. It's like a dog's face, and like he was barking in anger.
In a total of nearly 3,000 such tests done in a dozen different laboratories all over the world, the overall success rate was more than 33%. The odds against this happening purely by chance are about 1 trillion to 1. But some subjects regularly score far above this level. Dr. Alexander's most remarkable receiver is Sean Haribants from Trinidad. He has been tested at the Ryan Center for many years, providing material for over 30 papers published in scientific journals. In one early study, under strictly controlled conditions, he scored 72 correct predictions in just 93 trials. A result in that case represents 1 chance in 40 million. Sean was the first person to produce consistently high scores in traditional ESP tests. And it was discovered that while doing this, he was generating sustained alpha activity in his brain. This is a frequency more often associated with deep relaxation and meditation. And now Dr. Alexander has been able to pinpoint the precise area of his brain which is involved in such apparently psychic ability.
This is a topographic picture of Sean's brain, and this white spot right here shows you that while he was participating in a psi task, he had a predominance of alpha activity that is associated with restfulness, and it's dominant in the right side of his brain, in the parietal region.
Dr. Alexander believes that if a particular area of the brain, which is normally at rest, is stimulated by psychic ability, then this shows that something definite and biological is happening. But she does not believe that Sean is the only one involved.
I think that people do have these flashes of intuition. It may not occur on a regular basis. It may be something that happens once in a person's lifetime. But I think we all have the ability to have that sort of thing occur.
It is becoming clear that our brain is not just a biological computer. It seems to have the ability to make intuitive leaps, to pick up information in unusual ways, and to reach conclusions that don't depend only on normal programming. Is it possible that we could all be psychic without knowing? Until humans are cloned, no people on Earth are going to be closer to each other than identical twins. And alike, suffer from the same physical problems, and because they share the same DNA, seem almost to inhabit each other's skins. So it's not surprising that they should also experience strange coincidences, and find that at times they are in mental touch with one another in ways that appear to be telepathic. Close contact and shared lives are bound to encourage coincidence, making it difficult to decide whether twins are linked by genetic inheritance or by their common experience. But there are a small number of natural experiments which can help to resolve this problem. Barbara and Daphne are one of only 68 known pairs of identical twins to have been separated at birth and grown up apart. Neither of them knew of the existence of the other until Barbara discovered that she had been adopted and tried to find her natural parents. She learned that her mother had been a Finnish au pair who gave birth to twins at Hammersmith Hospital in London in 1939.
She was admitted to UK Road Hospital, Hammersmith Hospital, and therefore she gave birth to twins. Then it was wartime, war broke out, and the parents wanted her back in Finland.
She gave up the twins for adoption by different parents in England, and then moved on to Germany, where she married. A year later, deeply unhappy in this situation, she committed suicide.
And then I felt, well, that story can't end there.